Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today, I have a very special guest all the way from Canada. Nicky Billou is the #1 best-selling author of the books Line ThinkingTM, How to Think and Win Like a Champion, The Thought Leader's Journey, A Fable of Life and the Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network. He is an in-demand and highly inspirational speaker to corporate audiences such as RBC, Lululemon, Royal LePage, and TorStar Media. He is also an advisor and confidant to some of the most successful and dynamic entrepreneurs in Canada and the co-founder of eCircle Academy, where he runs a year-long mastermind and educational program working with coaches, consultants, corporate trainers, clinic owners, realtors, mortgage brokers, and other service-based entrepreneurs, positioning them as authorities in their niche. Nicky, welcome to the show.
Lance, thanks for having me, man. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. Well, you're quite the podcaster yourself. From what I read as well. So I feel like this is going to be a great interview. Before we get into exactly what you do now, tell us how you got here. You know, are you from a family of entrepreneurs, the first?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. I am from a family of entrepreneurs. My father was an entrepreneur, my late father. And I'll tell you my backstory real quick. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. And when I was a young boy, the Islamic Revolution was happening in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a great place for him to raise his Christian family. And he hustled us out of Iran, and we ended up in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I thank God every day that my dad had the foresight to do that. You know, because we left tyranny and we came to freedom. I don't know if you've been following the news in Iran, but just over a month and a half ago, a young woman, 22 years old, named Mahsa Amini, went outside and she was wearing a hijab and her hair was partially uncovered. She was arrested by the morality police and beaten to death for the crime, quote unquote, of being outside with her hair uncovered. And since that's happened, young women and girls, teenage girls all over Iran have been protesting against this regime. Over 400 of them have been killed by this regime, protesting simply for the right to be able to go outside uncovered with their hair and have human rights. And I know right now in the West, there's a lot of people that say, oh my God, this is such a terrible place. It's so racist. It's so sexist. It's so oppressive. And, you know, no one's going to pretend this place doesn't have flaws, but it's still, I believe, the most tolerant place on earth. So I push back against that sort of thing. And I believe in freedom. That's the foundational thing that I believe gives us all the ability to go out there and create the life that we were meant to live, that soul's purpose. You know, my late father, he was an entrepreneur, and that's the kind of man that he was. He was the kind of man who uplifted everybody around him. If he knew you and you needed a job, he'd get you a job. If you were trying to start a business, he'd help you start a business. Even if you were to compete with him, he didn't care about that. He just wanted to help people. And if you worked for him and you were looking to buy a car, a house, an apartment, and you didn't have enough money, he'd make up the difference. Now, you might think to yourself, who does that? Well, the late, great Napoleon Billou. Why? Number one, he was a Christian, and he believed he'd been blessed by God. And as a result, it was his obligation to share those blessings with others. But number two, he did it because he could. He was successful. He had the wherewithal to be of service. And he always came to me and he said to me, son, it's about people. It's not about money. If you focus on helping people, if you focus on giving your heart to your fellow man and your fellow woman, you are going to have a great and successful life. Well, if you just make it about the money, you might make money, but eventually karma is going to come and bite you in the butt. So I want to become an entrepreneur just like that. And so eventually I did. And one of the first things that I really noticed there was a lot of people who hadn't, had the good fortune of having someone like my dad show them how to go out there and take a bold stand for people in business and how to sell from service. And so they were worried about going out there and selling because they didn't want to come across as pushy. They didn't want to come across as salesy. They didn't want to come across like they're reeking of commission breath. So they wouldn't go after sales they should have gone after. And good people who needed their help wouldn't get their help. They wouldn't make the money they should have made. And I saw this and I thought to myself, wow, what if we could help these people really rethink selling and reframe it to serving? Nobody wants to be sold. You don't want to be sold, Lance. I don't want to be sold. But we love being served by a caring human being who has our best interest at heart. And that's what business is. It's all about people. It's not about numbers. And remember, the person that's standing in front of you, that's someone's father, that's someone's mother, that's someone's brother, that's someone's sister, someone's son, someone's daughter. They're a hero to somebody. You know, they've been disappointed by life, maybe even disappointed by a business person like you who promised them everything and delivered them nothing. And so your job's got to be to think about them and helping them first and solving problems for them, and not about you and your desire or need to grow your business yourself.
So you talk about freedom, and I notice you live in Canada. I'm interested on your take. Do you actually think Canada is a free country, considering the recent handgun ban, and not to mention all the horrendous COVID restrictions that were put in place by Trudeau?
Well, Trudeau's definitely a fascist, and he's been attempting to take our freedoms away. The handgun ban definitely is a blow against freedom, but Canada is a country that has been created in a tradition of freedom. And there's plenty of people in Canada, myself included, who are fighting back very hard to make sure that our freedoms are not taken away from us. And we are pushing hard to have his government defeated in the next election. For the very first time in my life, I got involved in politics beyond voting. I joined the Conservative Party of Canada. I voted for Pierre Poilievre. He became the Conservative leader. I don't know how much you follow Canadian politics, but he is a very freedom-minded man. He's pushing back hard against Pierre. And we're all very confident that we're going to defeat him in the next election. It might be a couple of years from now. But freedom's on the books in Canada. We have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And there's a lot of us that are pushing back on that issue. Not that I thought we were going to discuss that on a business podcast, but definitely the Canadian people believe in freedom. And that's why I'm grateful to live here.
Yeah, I do follow Canada enough to understand who the big players are up there. I mean, we were just watching from the States, and it was appalling what's happening. I'm a big Second Amendment advocate in the United States.
Me too.
And so to see you guys lose your handguns for self-protection, and what's really strange is, you know, growing up in North Dakota, which is bordering Canada, just knowing how rugged people are up there. And then seeing what they gave up with COVID was absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you for answering that question, Nicky. I'm just always curious when I get guests on from other countries, what their real take is. I mean,
thanks for standing for the Second Amendment, man. Second Amendment is the guarantor of freedom in the United States. And as long as you have the Second Amendment, you will never completely lose your freedoms, because there's 140 million gun owners in America, and they can't take them all away from you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's hard for us in the States, or even people listening from other countries, and we have a lot of international listeners, to really understand and sift through like the social media, you know, all the fake news, and then the corporate media is all fake news. So it's like to hear it from you is where I was going with that. So I appreciate that. Well, let's move on to business.
I've actually been on an alternative Canadian media network called Rebel News.
Yep.
So David Menzies has had me on twice to talk about what's going on in Iran. And I've also been in America on Wayne Allen Root's television show 3 times, again, talking about what's going on in Iran, and also talking about what's going on in Canada with the Freedom Convoy and taking a stand for those folks. So I'm very involved in that on my end as well.
Yeah. Well, Godspeed on everything. I really, I'm here to pray for you as well as a fellow Christian. So that's fantastic.
God bless you, brother.
Yeah. Let's move on to business then. So you are a guru in so many ways, and I would love to pick your brain about charlatan marketers. How can we avoid them?
That's such a great question. So charlatan marketer, let me just define it so we understand what we're looking to avoid first and foremost. Charlatan marketer is someone who is really good at selling the sizzle, but they have no stake to offer, right? And number one way for you to avoid a charlatan marketer is, first of all, find out if anyone you know has done business with them. And if they have done business with them, then, ask them what their experience was, right? And if the experience wasn't great, or if they're talking about something and pushing something but there's not really a track record of success in solving problems for people. Because here's what I say business is all about. Business is about what I call the 7-figure 3P solution, which is business is about solving acute problems for wonderful people for amazing profit. Problems, people, profit. That's what business is about. So if someone's really the real deal, they're going to be talking about solving problems more than anything else. They're going to be talking about people and the people who have those problems more than anything else. And they're not going to be spending a lot of time talking about themselves and how wonderful they are and how wonderfully they help people, you know, and those are some things that I think everybody ought to keep in mind.
Yeah, beautiful. Why do you think most people live in their comfort zone? You know, they get into a nice pocket, even if they have a successful business, and they just stay there. And do you think they should get out of it? How do you help them get out of it?
You know, that's a great question. I think people live in their comfort zone because there's a part of every human being that Steve Pressfield calls resistance. Have you heard of Steve Pressfield in his book, The War of Art?
Yes.
So resistance is that part of you that is absolutely determined to slay your ambitions and your dreams. Resistance is insidious. It's going to try to knock you out of the game in any way that it can. And you are never going to be rid of resistance. When you get up every morning, the battle against resistance begins anew. So you need to understand that. And that's what keeps you in your comfort zone, right? So if you push back against resistance and you behave like a pro, you're going to do what you need to do, whether you feel like it or not, you know, whether it's a good day to do it or not, you're just going to get to work, right? Because pros get to work. They don't care what the weather's like. They don't care how they feel. They just get to work. And that's the attitude of someone who wins in life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you need to be someone who's going to do what you need to do. So if I may just share a brief story, I had a young man come to me a few years ago. He was a personal fitness trainer and he wanted to do better, but he had two big problems. One is he was naturally lazy, and the other one was that he really wasn't much of a businessman. He was a good fellow. You met him, you would want to help him out. You'd want him to win. You'd want to be friends with him. And he wanted to help everybody. But he had 7 clients as a personal fitness trainer in the city of Toronto. Toronto was like the New York City of Canada. And if you know anything about the cost of living in New York City, you know, the cost of living in Toronto is very high as well. He was making $1,200, $1,300 a month. Not enough to live. So when he came to me, this fellow really just, he needed a kick in the pants. So I gave him that kick in the pants. And I said to him, okay, man, let's grow your business. Who do you help? And he's like, oh, man, I can help anybody, bro. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work, man. Who do you help? No, really, I can help anybody. I can help them lose weight. I can help them get strong. I can help them do contests. I'm like, oh, my God. So anybody with a pulse, pal? And he goes, ha, good one. Yeah, I guess so. I'm like, no, nope. Narrow your focus. He goes, okay, I got it. My dad's a doctor. Love my dad. Doctors make a lot of money. Doctors. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not a great message, buddy. I love my dad. Doctors make a lot of money. Not a great message. Didn't work for him. I said, we got to fix this message. He goes, okay, narrow some more. Okay, cardiologists. They make more money than doctors. I'm like, oh my God, you're not getting it, pal. Cardiologist didn't work either. All of a sudden, the good Lord, through his devices, sent this fellow a Paralympian, a man who had a missing leg since childhood through an accident. And the two of them hit it off. He helped this guy get really strong and go back to competition and win some medals. And he came to me and he goes, Nicky, oh my God, man, I'm getting it. Man. I was just thinking of the money. Now I'm like, I love working with this man. I'm going to work with people with missing limbs, you know, because I want to be fulfilled in this way. And I'm like, sounds great. Go for it. Bro, in 6 weeks, he signed up 400 clients. 6 weeks, 400 clients. He added not 1 0, but 2 zeros to his monthly income. He went from $1,200, $1,300 a month to over $100,000 a month. He could no longer do one-on-one clients. He had to, you know, grow an infrastructure to deliver it differently. And why did he win? Well, first of all, he stopped focusing on the money and he started
Mhm.
focusing on helping human beings and making a difference and being of service. And secondly, he picked a really good group because all the other trainers thought missing limbs can't work out, forget about it. He knew better. He said missing limbs can work out and this could completely transform their life. And it did. The message landed because the message wasn't just you're going to get strong and fit. The message was you're just as good as anybody who's able-bodied. Put
Great
yourself
story.
in the shoes of someone with missing limbs, brother. That would be a powerful message, right?
Yeah,
It's a good
yeah.
story.
Great story. Yeah, thank you for sharing that by all means. So it's interesting you told that story because my next question was about money, and it related to one of the things I read on your bio was that you talk about how people can add $20,000 to $100,000 to their income in the next year. You already sort of told one story about that, but like maybe you could speak to our audience a bit. And just for the record, our audience mostly is architects, designers, and then some contractors, and then we do have a periphery of just entrepreneurs and other businesses. How do you recommend people if that's one of their things to try to attain that? Everybody could use another 20K. Obviously, everybody could use another 100K. How can they do that?
Well, I think kind of like this young man that I told you about, the first thing they ought to do is stop identifying themselves as an architect or a designer and start identifying themselves as someone who assists a particular group of people with a very particular set of problems that architecture and design solves.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, let's just say, and I'm making this up, okay, on the fly here with you, but what if you said, I design plazas. That's what I do. I design plazas. That's my whole deal. I design plazas. And I work with folks who have plazas that are 250,000 square feet to 10 million. And I specialize geographically in the Mountain West or in Southeast Florida or wherever. That's a good start in narrowing your focus. Then people will go, oh, this fellow helps people like me. I'm somebody who's looking to design a plaza in this size. I'm located in this region. Let me talk to him versus I'm just an architect. I'm just a designer. You know what I mean? And like in my business, people say, who do you help? Who do you help? Well, I help two groups of people. One is I help, service-based entrepreneurs, folks who are like mostly solopreneurish with maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 staff at the most, kind of under $500,000 in sales. I'm really good at helping those people add a 0 or 2 zeros to their business. I'm super good at that. And those folks, a lot of them, they're struggling, they're working hard, they're burning out. They make good money, but they don't make amazing money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they want to make amazing money. Like that's their whole deal. So I go, dude, let's add a 0 to that income of yours, right? You're making 200K a year. Let's make it 2,500,000. Now that got their attention, right? 2,500,000. That's amazing money compared to $250,000, right? And so those folks would be super, super interested in speaking to someone like me. And my clients, I teach them to think the same way. You don't want to be telling people, I'm a coach, I'm an architect, I'm a realtor, whatever. That doesn't speak to the pain that these people have. Speak to the pain that these people have. Speak to the problem that they're dealing with. If you right now in your business say, let's say, I'm just going to make this up and say you're making $250,000 a year in your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you're somebody who's like, you're growing, but you're not exploding. You know what I mean? You're growing. You add like 15, 20% a year to your income. That's amazing, right? That's supercalifragilistic amazing. We love that's happening. That is what we want for you. But you want to make $1 million. And you're like coming to me, Nicky, I don't know how to get to $1 million. I know how to get to 275, 300. I want to get to $1 million. If I come to you and I go, well, what's it like not being able to get to $1 million? And you go, oh man, it sucks. I can't buy my dream home. I'm frustrated, and I'd say, hey, are you in a relationship? And you go, yeah, I'm in a relationship. Is this causing any financial issues coming up in your relationship? You go, yeah, once in a while we fight about it. It ain't great. And then I go, are you stressed out? You go, well, sometimes my mind's going, I can't sleep, or I'm not working out the way that I used to. So my energy's low and my self-concept, my belief in myself, it's dropped a little bit. And I'll listen to all of those and I'll go, wow, man, that all sucks. So, you know, the next thing I'd ask you is, how much longer are you, prepared to allow this situation to persist? If I've done a good enough job in having that discussion with you, you're going to go, I'm done with this, man. Let's do something about it right now. And then in the conversation, I will say to you, okay, let's solve this problem right now. Here's how we solve it. And I'll give you a brief rundown of how I help people solve it. I'm not going to go into super amounts of detail. When I go, we're going to do this, we're going to help you nail your message, we're going to help you nail your target market, I'm going to kick your butt and make sure that you're speaking to at least 20 prospects a month, minimum, bare minimum. And over, over the next 18 months, you should be hitting your targets. And then I'm going to say, you ready to solve the problem? I'm not going to say, are you ready to buy my program? Never say, are you ready to buy my program? They don't care about your program. They don't want to know about your program. They want to know if you can help them. And then I'll ask you if you're ready to solve your problem. And if you say you are, I'm going to say, then here's how we do it. Here's the investment. These are a MasterCard. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you speak to people that way, then those people are going to go, okay, if I have this problem and I trust this guy, he seems like he knows what he's talking about, then I'm going to go with him. The only reason they wouldn't go with you is either they're really scared, they don't believe they can do it, or they still don't believe you're the guy. And your job is to ask enough questions to get clear on whether it's fear about themselves or whether it's still on some uncertainty about you. And what's your job in a sales conversation, any conversation? Provide people with clarity about what they're dealing with, provide people with certainty that it's solvable, and provide people with caring, that you're a person who cares and is going to help them out. Clarity, certainty, caring, 3 C's, they'll lead you to victory. That's how you can add $20,000 to $100,000 to your business ASAP.
Yeah. I fully agree with that, especially niching down and focusing, and then you become the trusted advisor for that specific thing or service that you're tackling for folks. And then you can command higher fees, especially if you're in a service business. Well, so eventually you would get to the sales part, right? And that's one question I wanted to ask you, is because you already sort of used this phrase one time, and it was commission breath. So how do you sell, or how do you recommend selling without coming off as salesy?
Well, number one is I take all the focus off myself, even before I have a call with somebody. And let's say I was going to have a call with you, Lance. I would just take all the focus off me, whether I need a sale, want a sale, whatever the heck is, all that crap that, can get in our heads. I just pull it all out. And I just I close my eyes, I say a little prayer, and I focus on you. And I just say, Lord, here's Lance Psycho. And Lord, please allow me the opportunity to be of service to this man. And I'm just going to visualize that we're going to have a great conversation. That conversation is going to go beautifully well. And I'm also going to then visualize that we're going to connect. And then I'm going to get to be of service to you. I'm not going to visualize I get the sale. I'm going to visualize that we connect. I get to be of service to you. And it's going to be a great conversation. And when I'm done with that, I'll jump on the call. I'll spend a few minutes getting connected with you. I'll spend a few minutes making sure there's some rapport between us. Find something about you that, I admire, I like, and I'll focus on that. So you told me, for example, you love the Second Amendment. I love the Second Amendment. We'll spend a couple minutes talking about the Second Amendment. That way we'll bond. You know what I mean? Once the bonding is done, then I transition into the conversation. You don't spend a ton of time on the bonding conversation, right? Because after all, it's a business conversation, not a social conversation. Social conversations are cool, but business is business, bond and then move to the business conversation. And all I do is I'm looking to get super curious with you. Another C, curious. What is it that isn't working? And I just dig and dig and dig. What's not working? Why is it not working? And I do everything in my power to make sure I'm clear on what's not working and you're clear on what's not working. Because quite often, the person sitting in front of you thinks they know what's not working, but they really aren't 100% clear. They know it's not working and they think they know it, but what really isn't working isn't what they think is not working. You know what I'm saying? They might tell you, well, I just need more leads. I just need more leads. That's all. It's not working. I need more leads. Okay, that may be true. Maybe they need more leads. But maybe there's a reason why they're not getting leads, right? And what's really not working isn't just that they need more leads. It's that they haven't clarified their message. That's why they're not getting the leads, right? Maybe their message sucks. Technical term sucks, right? It's the NATO message and all that jazz. And my job is to help them and me get clear. And then I got to help them and me get clear on the emotional consequences of inaction. And then really at that part, it becomes a simple decision that they need to make. Are they ready to be done with these consequences? If they're ready to be done with these consequences, we're going to do business. If they're not ready to be done with these consequences, we're not going to do business. And an undisturbed prospect will not buy. An undisturbed prospect will not buy. And what do I mean by that? I mean a prospect that isn't clear on the pain, how bad it is, and why it's intolerable for it to continue. If that trinity isn't clear in their mind, they're not going to buy.
Yeah.
And your job is to make sure that's clear in their mind.
Yeah. I really like that you are focusing on something else besides sales, and then sales just becomes a part of that after you're focusing on the right things. Very, very good. We're coming up on the half hour here, Nicky, and I've got two questions that I ask everybody. And the first one is, knowing what you know now, and if you can go back in time to when you first started your business, what is one piece of advice you give your former self?
That's a great question. I tell me to start doing what I'm doing sooner. I just say, get in front of people, have more conversations, serve more people. Don't worry about all this stuff you're afraid of. Just go, get in front of people, build relationships. That's how you'll grow your business. That's how you'll be able to have more enrollments. Just focus on that. And I was just so in my head about so much back then, you know what I mean? And a lot of people are. One of the reasons I go on podcasts is because there's a lot of people, like you said, they've been dealing with the after effects of the lockdowns and with, inflation, just inflation in Canada, we call it just inflation. And the US, the Biden inflation, all that is just, it's scaring people. And I go on podcasts to help people believe in themselves, because you got to believe. You got to believe. If you don't have the belief, you're not going to be successful. And my objective in coming on every show is to help people grab onto some belief. And if they don't have enough of their own belief, they can borrow some of mine for a while.
Beautiful. I love that. Nicky, this has been fantastic. We really thank you for your time. Where can people find and follow you if they want to learn more about what you do?
So any social media outlet that you're on will probably have me on. Just look up Nicky Billou. But if you're a business owner of any sort who's stuck, then I offer something I call a success call. And the link to book one of those is eCircleacademy.com/appointment. That's eCircleacademy.com/appointment. I got a screening questionnaire in there just to make sure they're a serious business person. I ask them to fill that out. And once they filled that out, pick a time, get on my calendar, and let's have a wonderful conversation.
Beautiful. Thanks again so much. We wish you all the best up there in Canada and hope you guys move it back towards the needle of freedom. And God bless. Appreciate your time.
We're working on it. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. God bless you too, brother.